Hello and welcome to the house because we are in the house. Bass and Bonsai back in the house. Now we were out today. We got out and did some cast testing. Before I get to the results, and yeah, I'll probably give you the results, it'll be spoilers, but make sure and watch the footage when that video comes out to see just how I got to the conclusions that I came to. Throwing half-ounce chatterbait today. But before we get to that, move this guy, get out of the picture frame, get out of there. Before we get to these plain Jane reels, right? Just look at these. No color in them at all. Just a touch, but then mainly in the knobs. We're going to talk real quick about something else, and then we're going to get to that. I also today had a birthday party to go to, and then at that birthday party, I had let my son know I wanted a reel back. Anybody guess what reel it is? Well, I'm getting ready to tell you. But anyway, if you remember right, this reel, right? The Joker. Let's set him right here. You stay right there. I've talked about the reel that kind of gave me the inspiration once I saw that the turquoise fox came out and it had green frame. I was like, that isn't far from another reel. So anyway, now it's dirty. It's been in storage. We went and picked up that dude. Now I know. Let it focus. He's so bright, it just, the camera can't pick him up. That reel, I called it the last time that I had it in my possession using it, I called this my rat reel, right? It's old, it's been through a lot, it's just like a rat rod. Still gets the job done. That is the TD Ito 103M, says it right there. That is actually, it's about as stock as you can get other than the spool, which Jay, you comment if did I send you the spool with all of the alpha stuff? Because I can't find the original spool for this, which I had. It's not a huge deal. I don't need it back, but I'm just curious where it went to because I can't find it here. If you have it, I know to stop looking for it. But anyway, then the handle assembly, that's the only different thing. I kind of wish I had the stock knobs back to put on instead of this, but I thought this definitely helped it. The gold bent handle, I've tried different drag stars and I like the stock drag star. The stock drag star is a cool design and it just worked and it went with that. So anyway, you can kind of see the inspiration. The green is definitely a lot darker on the Joker, but this is the OG Joker, right? Now, for those of you that don't know, the backstory with these, I'll show you what's different from the stock one. You can look it up, go to eBay, they're still selling these. It's hard to find one like new in box or in perfect condition. There's actually several of them that aren't much better than this one, and they want like $250, $300 for. This is the original nose plate, but the gold is notorious for flaking off on the stock ones, so the gold was coming off on this, and I realized that it gives it a bone look if you just clean it off. And I sanded it, and I actually left it, I didn't try to polish sand, I didn't try to sharpen it up, and I don't know if you can pick up on film, so I tried to make it look just like a bone, like an ivory bone, and I think it pulled it off pretty good. Now the top, I just kind of roughed that, I just kind of basically anything that looked too funky, I gave it like a weathered look instead of just a nasty look. So someone, not me, someone had touched this up with a paint before I got it that like wasn't far off, but you can tell it's not the same kind of thing. So it's like I call it it's a rat reel. It basically just has that worn in look, still performs like excellent. I was out there casting it just a little bit. I need to clean it. It's like still dirty from, I think my son had it. It was on a rod. I think he just had it in the garage put up. So, and I was asking him, I'm like, how much should I sell you that for? He goes, I don't think you did. I don't know if you sold it to me or just gave it to me or what took place. And he's like, I'm not using it, so here it is. Anyway, so I'm going to use it in some videos and some cast tests and this and that. And then if I decide to put it in my lineup for this season, I will. If not, I'll just give it back to him, say, here, put it back up. but because I'm not a collector, but he does like everything. I think he had mainly this reel, and I know for sure Revo SX, one of the first or second gen Revo SX. They both look the same. I think he still has one of those. That's a very good reel. So this has the stock everything, but we've replaced the screws are purple, the handle assembly and knobs, of course, and then the spool is a, and I should just take it out where you can see the inside of it. You can't get them anymore. This is one of the first, I think this may have been the first spool I ever bought off AliExpress. It was, I believe at the time, Ray Studio, $54, something like that, which at the time seemed like a bargain and like a steal because you could only get the JDM aftermarket ones that were crazy priced. So I do have one problem with this reel. Everything, like, look, that was inside. That's just the way they came, the coating before the paint or whatever. Pretty cool. But awesome reel. I've had it apart. I've had this reel apart of several, and I think that may be aftermarket. I can't remember. If you look at the nose, how they have on these, and I'll talk more about what frame this is and what all, majority of, there's a lot of reels that had that frame. But this, as you can see, is a very shallow BFS, came with that spool bearing, which is a very, should be a micro, that's just like a housing. But then it still just has the stock. I never did mess with trying to get a different bearing on it. And this is a, it seems like it's, I don't have to compare it to one of the SV ones. I think the spring's a little stiffer than SV, but it's real pretty thin rotor inductor here. It's very lightweight, very thin. This is a good casting spool. It's not real great for real low BFS. And it's in one of my first shootout videos, if you guys watch. It may have been one I put back out again. It couldn't quite hang with the Alphas, with the Kasuji spool, or the Mega Bass Zonda, or the Hedgehog's shallow spool. But still very good. For all around BFS, it's an awesome caster, and it'll hold enough 10-pound line. You can go out and cast pretty much regular baits too. I may see if it'll hold enough 15-pound, order some new purple, or that 15-8, but that may be too thick, or I may just get some purple 10 or something. Because if I this right here, because it's got a lower gear ratio, these are not real high gear ratio reels. You can get them. I think now you can get a little bit higher, but these are kind of a slower reel, but perfect for like smaller cranks and stuff. So that may go on my 7-foot medium moderate if I decide to keep it in the lineup. But the issue I'm having, and I'm not sure how I did it, but this brake dial is backwards. So I was out there playing with it, and I kept trying to turn it down, and I finally got all the way turned down, and I'm like, this thing is like restricted, not the other way. So then I turned it all the way up, and I backlashed. So I was like, oh, I know the problem. Somehow I've got these, I got this thing turned going the wrong way. So basically I think I need to pop this back out and turn it the opposite way to where, so then, because I'm pretty sure, you guys quote me if you guys know more about these, when those are lined up, those two marks are lined up, I think that's maximum braking, and when you go away from that, it takes away from the braking, is I believe how these work. So when it's on in there, it says it's off out here. So I think the where this is turning, when I go all the way up, I need to go all the way up, take this back out, and turn that back. Then when I go back down, instead of going towards forward, it'll go this way, but it still is doing the same thing. It's turning the magnets back away from each other, how they create their field, I think. It would still work this way, but it's backwards, so I need to fix that. And it's just been so long since I've had one of these side plates apart, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. But awesome working casting reel, still works good. Probably definitely needs oil, but it's very free with the spool in or out. And these are ones that they have all the stuff supported without the spool in. You know, a lot of reels you can't You do not want to try to spin this with the spool out. But anyway, awesome. Based off the TDZ, which is basically the magnesium version in Japan of what the Zillion was here. The Zillion was aluminum, and they were workhorse tanks, sold very well for several years. I thought they were way too heavy for me. Loved all the TDZ's. Palm, a little bit big, but and I've got a couple of old videos, some of you guys may remember them, where I actually talked about what they should have done, and they still could. Daiwa could very easily just bring this reel right back out, and I guarantee you, I'm telling you guys, this reel would sell again. And it's real simple. All they need to do, there's only one thing they need to do with this reel. And it's nothing to do with the mechanics, the whole functioning, the way this clips, because everybody was fine with this that had these. There's no problem, because you don't need to take this out until you change the spool. Like, you just tighten that up, and then you just set this dial. This reel, it's not even that big of a reel if you actually look at it. And like, you start comparing it to reels that we still consider small today. It's a small reel. It's not that big. The downside to this reel was and I'll try to show you, if you see how low even the lingual sets down onto the reel feet. And it looks kind of like this sets low, but if you look, see all that gap, like it doesn't go all the way across, but it's above. And if you look at the gap, they had room. Now maybe it was only, but you see all this space here, all this space here. They had room, and they still could very well to this day just get that thing dropped down as low as it possibly can set. I don't mean to change don't turn it into a CT, only leave it 34 millimeter spool, but just drop it down onto the reel seat lower, and I bet you they could resell through the entire lineup. They could just make a standard TDZ. They could even come out with this Ito again in a lower profile version, the Type Rs, the whole gambit, and probably sell out again. Yeah, she needs oil. Oh yeah. Guess who's got a drag clicker? That was one of the first things I got ordered up for this baby. Now this is one of the drag clickers from the guy in Ukraine off of eBay. Very good drag clicker. Everything clicks on this reel. This. All clickies, very lightweight reels. So yeah, be looking forward to it. What I'm going to do, and then I'm going to get to the results, and I'm going to get out of here, is I got to find, if I can't get the original spool, if I can't find it, if I did send it to Jay, I don't want Jay to send it back, I will track down a non-boosted, because I really don't need that old spool. I wouldn't mind just throwing it out there again in a cast test, but I need a stock Daiwa SV spool, really. And then I'll test it. Probably, like, I guess I need to test a stock spool in this, not boosted, or something with a T-wing. And then I need to test just a regular spool in this compared to this boosted and all, like head to head, and see, is there a difference? And what I'm saying is, I think honestly, if you get the right guy, I'm not saying I'm 100% that guy, but that knows like his reels and can, just you start, because it takes me a little while, like then I'm like, oh, I got it now, ding ding, and then I'm like, whoop, there's the max distance. There may not be a difference or much of a difference, but like I've talked about before, the whole point of the SV and the SV Boost and the T-Wing and all that is just to ease overall. Because what I can guarantee you, that it's possible, I've even seen it happen with the T-Wing systems. When you get out there setting the reel to maximum potential for distance. You can get out there and make a cast with that line guide, like right here, all the way back around, maybe here, and then all of a sudden you don't pay attention because technically you don't want to have to look and see, oh, is that anywhere close to the middle where I can cast as hard as I want to. But sometimes that right there on a standard one will let it backlash to where if it would, all it would have took would be there and it wouldn't have backlash. Because I've seen it where I've been out there just casting and no issue, and then you cast in a backlash, and if you're paying attention, like, why'd that backlash before you turn the handle? A lot of times it's because that line guide's all the way to one side. And you can actually, even though it's a T-wing, when this thing's all the way to one side, now technically it's supposed to be like in the middle, when you're casting, it's still almost in the middle, but all the way over here to there is still an angle. And if you're pushing that fine limitations, that's what I think happened to me today. You'll see in some footage, I backlashed this sucker and the line did break. And I think that's what happened. Like, it still can even happen. What this does, though, the odds that it's all the way, the angle, even if it is all the way over, angle isn't quite as bad. And typically, every cast isn't as hard as you can cast. So therefore, you help eliminate some of your backlashing, some of your issues out on the water. But I want to try to compare all that different stuff just so you've got it out of your head and I've got it out of my head that it's an issue, because it's not really a big issue. Once you get the feel of a reel and you're not pushing the limitations every cast, from the time they made this reel and started monkeying with started fine-tuning, messing with those that Mag Force, Mag Z, all the different stuff. They've just been, you can only get so far with the bait. You can only cast a certain amount of weight with a certain amount of aerodynamic capabilities a certain distance. And I think they've gotten there several years back. Then it becomes on what can you do for the person that's casting and their abilities to cast to just help them get to that level, right? So I think this whole cast testing, because every time I get out there, it never fails. If I try hard enough, I end up where I can make almost everything I'm casting get to within range. Within range. Some things are just hard. They're hard. They're a touch on the finicky side, and or I just struggle with them, because I don't have them figured out, because I'm not an expert at all the different reels. Just like the Arisen, for example, I'm sure somebody could sit and take their time with that reel and probably get it going exactly. Because it's close. It's like right there. Also, I was just getting frustrated losing all those different baits. Like, I finally broke one. That's the first time, even between the Bantam, between this reel and several other reels, that Arisen, just like every time I backlashed, I broke, which was crazy. So, be looking forward to that. But today, I already have results. The results are in, and I just think that everybody that is a Shimano fanboy just needs to get their butts puckered right now. Because I tried, and I threw this bait. I was actually out there I was testing the Carbon Light 2.0, just throwing all the different rods. I threw the 3/8 ounce chatterbait and on the 7.7 medium, 7 or 6.9 medium heavy, 7 foot heavy, and I just wanted to try them all out on casting overall on certain weight of baits, just so I would know kind of what I was dealing with, and just playing around. It was a nice day. But then I talked myself into, like, let's just do a shootout, because I found out that the 7 foot heavy is actually better at getting distance just by a touch over the 6.9 medium heavy, which makes sense. For a 1/2 ounce with that, it's actually almost, it's more like 3/4, right? So we shot this out. I decided to put, because I had the Bantam on the 6'9", and I had this on the 7 foot heavy, and it was like no competition. Like, I could not, and I only had this had this half spooled, and I was like, it was no competition. That fully spooled on the 7 foot heavy, just this bait was flying. This, I could get close. I was there, but I could tell it was harder to do, harder to get there, and I knew it was probably a combination of everything. It was a combination of the line, the rod being a little bit lighter, a little bit shorter. So I'm like, well, let's just do a shootout to see how well what the real part was in it. And so the reel actually was playing a part in it also, because I could not, once I spooled this up with line, so we filled up both spools with 20 pound, just right on top of the 15 that were about halfway spooled with. So pretty much, you know, same line, 15 pound leader still. Put them on the 7-foot heavy, and then we threw this. And so the Bantam, I couldn't quite get to like, I ended up with 2 on and 2 off internally, because that's where I was trying it, so that's where I left it. And because with only 1 on, like if you're running half a spool, it's weird. You can actually run it internally with just 1 on, because it takes that spool to rotate way faster. It's doable. You get roughly the same distance, but the braking's like totally different. So 2 on, 2 off with the fully spooled spool, and then almost on 3, and then it, like you could hear it wanting to make a fluffy noise every once in a while. So I knew that any harder, and we were dealing with a little slight touch of wind. You'll see in the video. Just gotta watch the video. But I was casting it, and I'd actually, if you guys remember right, when I was doing the Arise, I was at the same place where I did the Arise video with this bait. And we were getting like 2 foot past the box that's out there under the water, but we were totally iced over, so it was actually hitting ice, and I was reeling it back, but you could still make out the box under the ice. So then I put this baby on, the 7-foot heavy, and proceeded to just cast and beat that distance by about 2 foot every cast. I mean, you could clearly see I beat it. Then for some reason, I cast, and it just backlashed and broke off. And then I got this back because it's ice. I didn't go out on ice. It was very thin ice. But thanks to Matt giving me a rig, right? Alabama rig. I was able to put the Alabama rig on, throw it out, and then snag this, because the A rigs are more or less like a casting net, right? So I was able to get this bait back, put it on again, and then made, I don't know, a couple more casts just to see if that was a fluke or not. Casting hard as I could. I couldn't get it to backlash again. I don't know why it backlashed. It just did the one time. And then, but I was consistently just, every time I was on number 4. So it was windy, so we couldn't go to 3. If you remember right, like when there's no wind and you don't have any issues, this will go on 3. And that's probably what happened. It was wind, but then an extra little, maybe more wind is what made that one backlash. Because this guy was getting fluffy at times. Like I would cast hard and you might hear, and then it'd clear out. But then most of the time it was fine. But I did not want to go down any further on the brakes, because I started at 3 and I went down just a little bit from 3. And then that's when it started getting kind of weird. But that's kind of where this reel likes that, at 2 on, 2 off, and then like halfway. It's almost like a halfway reel, fully spooled with braid anyway. I'm guessing fluorocarbon, you probably have to go just a little bit tighter on the brakes. But yeah, the Zillion definitely was, today anyway, was casting this bait better by just maybe 2 feet, maybe. It was really a toss-up as far as, in my mind, like it's still, this reel was getting out there. It was going good. But man, this baby, she was humming. But then I wanted to retry, and I tried to do it, and that's why I had the A-rig on my mind. As soon as that thing broke off, I'm like, I'm going to get that A-rig out now and retrieve my bait before I go to my next part of my video. So you're going to see, probably in its own little separate video, I was throwing that A-rig, and I had it on with this, just kind of feeling how hard it felt to reel it back in. Now, it shouldn't make a difference, because we have 8.5-to-1, 8-to-1, micro module gears, right? Hyperdrive. So the gearing's top notch on both of these from each company, Daiwas, Shimano. You really shouldn't have much of a different feel, but I would swear, and it may be because this is 8.5 and this is only 8.1, because you do tell a difference. If I'm dealing with the 7-to-1 to an 8-to-1, the 7-to-1 will be an easier retrieve on the resistance you're pulling in. It just is. That's why a lot of guys still crank, even though a lot of guys say you don't need to. They'll use 4-8, 5-3, 5-5 to ones to crank heavier crankbaits, even, just heavy resistant baits. But I would swear, because it's a little freer feeling just sitting here bench testing it. When it's set for casting, you got your brakes set, tensions or whatever, everything's set the way it is. I don't feel any resistance, but I still feel that this reel has just a little freer feel. I have to give it to it. Those micro module gears, a lot of guys say they're a lot weaker, but they do have just a little more of a butter. This feels like hot butter. This feels like warm butter. They're both buttery smooth, but I have to give them this one the nod on the bench, and when I'm out there reeling something, the chatterbaits, going slow, I just feel it's easier to basically go slow, reel it fast. I don't feel like and it's not that it's a hard thing to do. I just almost like I can feel that if I just have to give the nod to this reel, the Bantam, which is good for me because I plan on using it for chatterbaits, which are sort of a pretty good resistance type bait. But I mean, this is good. It's one of those like right there, just like if one can cast a foot further than the other, like who cares? It's so close. But just like almost you can feel that. And I'm curious to try this low geared thing just to see, because I know this is the lowest geared reel I have. And also but I feel that I don't know, I can tell I'm going slower like with the Accurate because it's 7 to 1, but I don't feel it's so much easier to reel something in than it is with this, because I don't know, it's hard. That part's hard to explain. It's like a feel I get from it that I didn't even really. And I was like, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling where this feels different than this when I'm reeling something in? And I think it's that. I think it has a touch more of a power feel, even though that's 90 millimeter handles, XG. 8.5, 8.1, right? So right there. Now I don't know what the inches per turn are, but whether they're totally full or they're both about halfway, I still feel like this one's got that little bit touch more of a power feel to it. I haven't really tested to see if one feels like I'm reeling in faster or not. And I guess I should just measure and see what the inches per turn are and see if it, if say this one is reeling in a few more inches per turn and that's what I'm feeling, I can feel that thing, and that's why it's a little bit almost harder to reel in. So anyway, a lot coming up. I've still got to put, this was a visual test. I could visually see it beating it by, if you guys remember right where the Arise videos, I'm up on that bluff wall basically, casting down in that pit, and you can see right where stuff's laying. It's like very obvious. And yeah, the Zillion takes it on the overall cast distance, but this reel still has that palmability and that it's just that Shimano freaky freeness that so far the top 3 reels ever have been Shimano's. The 2016 Metanium is probably a little bit better than this. The Calcutta Conquest BFS, it's the smoothest reel I've ever felt. But these are right there. I mean, the Zillion's good. I'll be curious to see what I think of the Steez once I get that one. The TD Itos and Zillions, they've always been a free reel, but they've never been, what I feel anyway, a truly refined. Like what I love about these, and I know you've heard several people talk about it, is that if there has ever been a reel that you feel like in tune, in touch with a bait with, and there may be one that beats these, the TDZs, not the Zillions because they're aluminum frame, but these, they're kind of I hate to call them bigger, bulky, because they're actually a small reel, but they're bigger than the other reel I'm going to tell you about by a little bit. But just that magnesium frame with the aluminum gears, the ones with the aluminum gears and something, it's just, you feel connected to your baits more, I feel anyway, with this reel. And the only other reel that I felt that way, maybe even more, was the Pixie, even over the Alphas. And some of these new reels, I still feel some connection kind of stuff, but I'm kind of feeling that, I think, through the rod and the fact I use braid. But there's just something to be said about the TDZ lineup and the Pixies, which I haven't had one of those in a lot of years, about just they're real refined feeling, but as far as the true buttery smoothness, they're freed up. But I would feel, any of your newer, like the new, even the Zillion before this one, that reel is like, I think it's even smoother than this Zillion by just a hair. Like I had no issues with those as far as how smooth they felt. They were kind of palmed a little bigger. I don't think they got the palming deal fixed with that version, even anything over this reel. I'd almost pick, I wouldn't pick the Zillion in this frame because it was a heavier aluminum, but I would pick a TDZ over the older Zillion any day. Nowadays, I think you've got almost an even matchup as far as this palm's a little bit better. It's a touch a little heavier, but I think they're just an awesome reel. But anyway, as you can see, Daiwa's always had that big front end look, right? With the Zillions, the TDZ, the TDX was before this, and I want to say another version, or as their reels started kind of forming into a shape. Other than that T-wing being stuck in there, that is not much different of a look, really. Not a lot. Scotty Zone 7 says, I like the old Zillions better. Yeah, I think there's still a lot of guys that do prefer the old Zillions, but they're just too heavy for me. I just could not take them. How many did I own? I owned one, a black one. And they've had different Zillions and TDZs. There's several different... that drag clicker sounds good. You guys hear that? Let's check this drag clicker. Oh, wait. They just now shipped it. They shipped the drag clicker for the Steez that I have coming, that I ordered like several days after the one for this reel. They shipped it like the same day, but before they shipped the one for this one. So I've got two different drag clickers for Daiwas coming, because I think one's going to fit. I'm going to resurrect this old turd also that I caught my personal best on. So we're bringing all the OG gangsters back out into the mix this season. But I ordered two different drag clickers because the best one, or the one that fits the best for the Steez, I'm putting in it. But then the other one, yeah, no, you're getting sloppy second. Sorry, buddy. Don't worry. Don't worry. I still love you. You're all right. Putting one in the Bantam. I'm up in the air on I don't need any other reels. Oh my goodness. I do not need any other reels now that I got all of the lingual variants and the lingual back, the Joker back. I don't really need, I've still got, Calcutta Conquest BFS to sell. One of these Zillions Matt's going to buy. I've still got two of the Acuras. Technically, at least one of the Acuras to sell. So, yeah. Now, what do I want? What do I want to buy? Well, let me tell you. I want to I got the Steez limited shallow spool coming. I want to buy, but I'm not going to, just for the fact I think after this reel, I'm done messing with Shimano's for now. Not that they're not good, they're awesome reels, but I think I'm going to go on the, I think I'm going to hang on, stay on that Daiwa train, and maybe get, and I don't even know which Daiwas, which way to go, but to maybe play around with the spool deal. And, but if I had my way and I just got some and then resold them or something, I would get the Corrado DC. I've already had it, and I wouldn't get the 200. I'd rather have the 150. A lot of guys, I got 200 out now. The guys want that. If you're with braid, just stick with the smallest spool available in what reel you're wanting. But I would get a 150 Corrado DC and the SLX DC XT just to shoot them out to see if there is truly a difference between the, is it just a extra little deal to charge more money, or does it truly make a difference in performance? I'd be curious to see those. I'm not sure if the Real Test has even done the. I think, yeah, he did the Scorpion DC versus the XLX DC, but I don't know. My personal opinion, I don't know if there's a true difference enough. But the SLX DC XT, it's cheap enough. Like, I'm sure it'll work as good as a Corrado DC, which there wasn't a bad reel. But I would like to just have those two to mess with little shootouts. I do not really need any kind of DC. Definitely am not going to get the newer Daiwa. That's for big swim baits. People have been asking me. That's kind of the Z2020. It's kind of either going to replace it or be right there with it as you got a DC option and then just a regular one, right? It's a more bigger bait, swim baits. We're not ready for that technology down these smaller ones anyway. But I want to get, since I've got the shallow, the best reel ever made shallow spool Steez coming, I would buy the Metanium shallow edition just to put it up against it, but I just don't know if I want to spend that much money on a reel I'm sure I won't like. And I'll tell you real quick. Now, you guys comment. Some of you guys are Shimano guys. I know. You guys are about had it with me, right? Anyway, if I could get the worm gear, worm roller, whatever you call it, not the little gear that sits on the side that runs the worm, but that, if I could get that in this material, like that hardened anodized aluminum worm gear, not the plastic ones that come with the new Shimano's, I would actually like to have one of the new ones of these. Here's what my fear is. I guess I should just order one and see. I'm afraid if I look up this part number and I order that part, it'll come plastic. Because it's probably a direct fit into the older one, to the newer. So maybe they've just done away with all of their worm gears are now going to be plastic. I don't know. But I definitely, every reel I've felt Shimano, they're not like this reel. This reel is crazy. There's no resistance. I even have the brakes kind of set up. I think I even have a touch of tension on this, but like it's just free. You can't feel anything. The Aldebaran 22 I had, BFS, definitely had had a resistance. It's either in that or the instant anti-reverse. I'm not 100% sure which, but it's definitely something in the newer Shimano's that I've put my hands on. They have now the brand new Bantam they had at Rogers wasn't as bad, but they pulled 2 of the regular 20 Metaniums out for me out of boxes right-handed, and you could feel it. I even had the kid, I'm like, you feel that? Like, oh, feel this reel, feel this reel. We felt the Steez, the Zillion, the whatever. Definitely, the Shimano's were the most, we checked this, loosened it, make sure I had a little bit of wobble, make sure the brakes are turned down, and you could just feel resistance in those reels. And some of you are going to say, oh, it's the grease, dude. It's you're just blowing everything out of proportion. I'm telling you, I know how I am and how finicky I can get on a feel of a reel. Because out of these reels, that 8-to-1, I can tell the difference between 8-to-1 on all of these AliExpress reels. I do not like, if my reels are these AliExpress carbon or graphite plastic framed reels, the 8-to-1 in this, the MK9 and the Acura and the Micro Monster, the 8-to-1 gear compared to the 7-to-1, I do not like it. I feel like there's just something in the way those gears are cut or that way that gearing is. I do not, this is 7-3-to-1, those 7-to-1 on the Dark Wolf Ultra, Black Knight 2, Acura, and the Micro Monster they feel good. The 8-to-1s, it's not that they feel bad. I can feel something there. I'm just telling you guys, something ain't right with those. I don't know if I felt a regular Zillion that wasn't 8.5-to-1. I ordered 2. I think the one up at Rogers that I've been, when I compare it to other reels up there, I'm pretty sure it's also 8.5-to-1. So I don't know if I've felt this 7-to-1 to see if it feels. Sometimes you will. They have 7.5 or 6, 6-to-1. 6.3 to 1s, they will feel a lot smoother because they're actually just a freer due to the gearing and on the internals of the reel. This reel feels it feels just like the other lingle variant, the lingle and then the black lingle. They feel like they need to be taken apart. So I'm gonna get out of here, guys, and the reason I'm not taking them apart right now, I'm probably gonna clean up just outside of this, but I've got and I'll talk about it once I get here. I can just give you a heads up. I made an order with Tackle Warehouse, and I'll probably make another one. But I ordered a World Minnow because that thing looks in my favorite color. I think will work in those. It's kind of like that one Mega Bass Vision 110 knockoff I have. It's got a little bit of yellowish color with a little bit of red. But anyway, the World Minnow I think might be a legit jerk bait. I got the Purple Death Hellraiser coming. That's the only color I felt like I wanted. I got another one of the Mizzou Craw deals from CastKing, and I ordered the Lucas Reel Oil, and then the Daiwas Space Grease, and I'm gonna try those two combinations out. So I'm gonna go through almost everything. Kind of needs gone through. I think I'm gonna leave my Zillion alone and the one Accurate because I'm kind of doing stress durability tests on those. They've been dunked in water and everything else. So I think I'm gonna leave them alone because they still feel fine. Like, let's just go for it, right? Let's just see. Let's put them through the punishment. I think they'll be fine. But I honestly think the old this dude, I kind of did a little bit, but we're gonna check out that grease. I think I'm gonna go through when I tear into this dude. Put the drag clicker in. Even the new Steez, when it comes in, I'm gonna put the drag clicker and then probably just lube it with what I consider maybe the best grease out. And some people would consider that. Definitely like this guy, the first one of these I got, which I don't think it's ever had anything done to it other than grease. I greased it real heavy the first time because it didn't have hardly any in it when I first got it, and I greased it heavy, but then it's been a whole season. Probably do all of them like this guy before I put a drag clicker in it and then figure out. I think I've got a purple star coming that's going to go on this drag clicker. We'll figure out what handle assembly is going to go on him, get him back into the mix because that's a good capable all-around BFS spool. That purple, it's basically a PW100, the purple one. They're selling them again. They're calling them something weird right now. But that was what I call the Purple Pro version. That's the spool. And that's the nose piece and side plates off of Spirit Fox. In case you're like, what in the hell is that thing he's holding up? But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. A lot more coming. I'm probably going to go ahead and order some from Tackle Warehouse. I'll probably order some 20-pound FC Sniper fluorocarbon just to try it. I keep hearing guys talk about how chatterbaits through the grass with that and how good that is. And so I don't know. I'm thinking it's $25 just for like 165 yards, I think. But that should be enough to do reel. Because I'm not going to I'll probably do it on, I don't know what reel for sure. Probably the Zillion. Put it on 7-foot heavy. Put this on a 6.9 medium heavy. But then I'll use that 7-foot heavy kind of for basically just that, something where I feel 20-pound, and I may try to get, if I get another spool to do cast testing, I'll run one with 20-pound braid, one with the 20-pound fluorocarbon, and be able to swap them out if I feel for whatever reason. And so yeah, I'm still up in there. Man, I hate spending $25 for 165 yards of line. I don't care what kind of line it is. That seems like a lot of money. Because for $13 to $15, isn't it? I can get 500 meters of 20-pound braid. So yeah, and braid lasts a long time. I have no issues with braid. It's just I keep hearing stuff and stories. And the 7-foot heavy, it probably would be a little, or make a little more sense to have a little more give technically in the line if I'm going to be using it for chatterbaits also as an alternative to the 6.9 medium heavy. Anyway. Stay tuned, guys. A lot more coming up. I got to get out of here. Got places to go. Oh, wait. Everybody's commenting. I didn't even see you guys were commenting. How does the Corrado 200K feel compared to Metanium and Bantam? Are you talking about palmability or are you talking about workability? I had the 200K, but it's been, shoot, that's 2 years ago now. The 200K when it first came out, I had it, I had the Scorpion, and I had the Corrado DC at the same time. Those things palm good, but it's hard to explain. I'd say they're that 200K is definitely a casting machine. The Scorpion MGL was actually, I liked it the best out of the three. Then would probably be the Corrado DC, then the 200K. That's just me, in my opinion, running braid on them. He said, Scotty says, I thought I was the only one that talked to my reels. No, no. We got to talk to these babies. Keep 'em working right. Yeah, and then on as far as the steezes go, I can't figure out what color those new ones are. This both of them, the hyper long cast definitely has some blue, but I can't really tell what and how much. And then the steez, the new steez A, I swear it looks blue to me. It looks like a kind of like the, I don't even know what you call it, like a, I want to say muted blue, almost like a just a bluish, kind of like some of your newer cards are coming with that off gray, off blue color, but the frame kind of looks like that. Paint in like a not satin, not gloss, not anything, just a bluish tint to a gray, and then, but I can't make it out for sure. I've been looking on my phone. I look on the TV and videos, and I look on my computer, and I'm like, what exact color is that new Steez? Because I actually like the old Steez A color. I don't think I like about the Steez A's are that they are aluminum, so they're going to be heavier, and they're. I don't think I like mag sealed bearings. Pretty sure I had a Steez A briefly, and it just like I talked about these Shimano's with the little resistance feel. That Steez A at the time had some kind of weird feel to it that I did not like. But I may try another one if I really like this Steez that I have coming. I figured just get the top of the line one. If I like it, keep it. It may be a gateway to get more, or it may be like, yeah, I'm not that fond of it. And so if somebody offers me my money back, ship it out and never think about getting another one again, right? Who knows? Yeah, Troy's saying the new Bates reels. Which ones you talking about? Yeah, I had one of those. I actually had the Steez I had was probably close to looking like this as far as it, was kind of roughed up looking a little bit, but man, it still worked fine. It I'd say it palms probably the Zillion and the old Steez palm about the same way. They're not a they're like a firm feel palming, but they're not really a. I say the new Zillion just palms better overall than these as far as comfort. They're still fine. Yeah, I keep hearing a lot of people talking about the Varibus. I'll be honest, I started out with either Hercules or Perberos. It was just the fact I could get there. They had a lot of colors. They had the camos, they had the purples and the blues. Hello, did you take a nap? Here, fishy, fishy. So anyway, guys, yeah, that's what I thought. The Steez A is kind of a lighter black. I don't know. It's probably a similar version like what the Dark Wolf Ultra started out as. But until I saw the new Bantam, in person and actually put it on one of these carbon light rods, I thought I didn't like the looks of it. I 100% do not like the looks of the new Metanium. The 20 Metanium, that color is horrendous. It's horrendous in pictures. It's horrendous in person. I don't like the overall shape of that reel compared to this reel. This reel, I think, just looks better. That extra cutout in here, the Metanium throws me off, and the way the nose is just flat but pointy or pointing down. Just something about that reel. But the silver one looks better. But that new Bantam in person on the Carbon Light 2.0 with that darkish grayish finish to that light gray on the carbon lights and white, that thing just looks good and does feel good. And if I knew for sure I could get that line guide worm gear, I would that'd be next. That'd probably be the next reel on my list because I would use one of these on for one of the other carbon lights and then one for the. I'd probably actually get a lower gear ratio one, or just the next G and a half full and put it the new one for actual chatterbaits because I think some of the finishes feel slicker than others when your hands are wet or just as it's getting chillier or whatever. And I think the newer one has a little more of a almost firmer feel. Not that this is slick, this is about the closest you can get from two different companies that almost came up with the same overall finish. These aren't that far off. This is definitely a little lighter, but they almost have the same feel in whatever they're finished with kind of feel, which is actually bad because this one is definitely known to wear off faster. So hopefully this one isn't that prone to wearing out. What's funny is lastly, as I get out of here, I'm telling you guys right now, these cheap for the money anyway, I feel, and what you get, the lingual finish is one of the more durable ones for no more money than the whole reel cost. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Get out, go bass and bonsai. And, oh, Jay. Where'd you go, Jay? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that's true. If they narrowed it up, the worm gears won't interchange, will they? Now, I wonder if they sell, I guess they won't sell any of the, what you call it. I'm wondering though if they changed. What did they change? They didn't narrow the whole reel up though. I don't think. Same frame. So I know it'd probably go in, but you may be right. They may have changed where when it goes over, it would be trying to put line up too far to where the new spool comes out a little bit. They pushed the frame cutouts differently. So I see what you're saying there. I think I'm just done. I think until I see or can go actually fill a Shimano in person, one of the new ones anyway, that doesn't have that fill, there's no point in me trying to mess with getting one. Now I know I think anyway, the older Corrado DC didn't have that, but I'm not 100% sure it may. Yep, the old Ito looks pretty cool. But I think I came pretty close. I mean, it's got gold in the line guide. Just it's harder to see, but we got gold in the line guide, the green, the silver. That top plate was originally more of a silver. Chrome. It did have a lot of gold. This whole front nose was gold, so that's where the kind of gold. I'd almost need to add some white now if I want to try to make these look alike like the. Then of course the purple that matches the inner part was purple. And then just added a little bit of other stuff here and there. Not bad. Got a little bit of a family resemblance. They copied the Stees. They should have made, I don't know why they didn't keep adding, you know, I guess because they were no longer, guy that owns Megabass wasn't actually working for him to do it or whatever. They didn't try to bring out other people have done customs. There's a cool looking Steez CT floating around that the guy painted up to kind of mirror that. And the Megabass has kind of come close on a few different reels they put out that had that color. And that's a certain color. I think that's a car color, like Maser. I forget what they call that. I used to know it, but awesome how it's that green with the gold hue. And I think that's kind of what Dobbin's rods were sort of trying to capture back when they're high end at the time. Their high end rod lineup, but it ended up more of just like a brown color changing paint. All right, guys, going for sure. We're out of here. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Get out and go bass and bonsai. I'm out. Well, I've tried some Japanese. I haven't tried the high end stuff. One time I tried the Daiwa J braid. Uh, Now I've only tried what like Suffix 832. Used to use Power Pro. Tried the Power Pro Slick. Did not like it. Sometimes that stuff's too. It's almost too slick. Like it's too. The knots tie weird. They slide out. I don't know. It's hard to explain. There's certain. I'm kind of like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I may stick with Hercules because I don't know if it's Proberos too, and it could be Hercules, but I haven't bought any Hercules in a while. Last season I bought Proberos and it felt about the same, but I may go back to just Hercules. It seems to be a little more expensive than Proberos now, but it could just be the fact I'm casting harder than I ever have doing these little cast shootouts, but I tend to break off on 15 or 20 pound tests where I feel I shouldn't whether it be backlash or not necessarily once I'm out fighting a fish or on hook sets or nothing like that. It's just I don't know. Certain times, especially that Arise reel, that thing drove me nuts with how many times it snapped the line. Up until that point, I really didn't have that problem. If I had, 15-pound braid to leader, it would not snap off if I had a backlash. If there was a weak knot for me not checking it ever so often. But anyway. No, Scotty, I'm out. Jay, all you guys are on your own. I'm out of here. It's been almost an hour. Yeah, there's some in Japan. There's the Japanese. They go nuts with all that like anime, different stuff. They'll throw that scheme on reels. There's all kinds of stuff that I've seen. If you can spot a few different Japanese forums or blogs and places and stuff like that, they go insane with some of that stuff. See you later. Gotta go.